He brought a knife into school at 7:15 this morning and started stabbing people.
He witnessed everything, and he was like, yeah, I was stabbing people, and it was just like, whoa.
Anxious parents waited to make sure their children were safe.
We have been in breaking news coverage now for much of the day. Dozens of ambulances and police cars rushed to Franklin Regional High School.
Right now, though, you are looking at a very tense situation between parents waiting for their kids at the middle school there, just a few short steps away from the high school where this all took place. And, you know, just to recap, 7:13 this morning, a 911 call went out from the school resource officer there as you watch kids just scurry off and head home to safety. 7:13, this all started. The stabbings went on for a good half an hour. We're told the suspect was taken into custody, but before he was taken into custody, he went from multiple classrooms, classroom to classroom, into the hallway, stabbing as many people as he could.
At 7:13 this morning, our 911 center received a call from the resource officer here at Franklin Regional High School that he needed medical assistance at the school. He had multiple patients involved in a stabbing. Currently, we have 20 students that have been injured, 4 of which have been flown by medical helicopter. The hospitals that are treating the patients are a wide range of hospitals: Allegheny General, Presby, UPMC East, and Forbes.
We have confirmed that 5 people were taken here to UPMC East. We pulled up just a short time ago.
Well, we do have confirmation that 1 student has been brought here to Presby. That comes from UPMC. They laid it out where everybody is. So we know that 1 person, and I do believe it is the student who I've been talking with his girlfriend on Twitter. She tells me she's on her way now with her mother out here to try to see her boyfriend. What she could tell me so far is that it's a boy, he's a junior, that he was stabbed at random in the stomach. As you mentioned, a lot of these injuries seem to have come in the stomach. That seems to be the case here. We do know from the girlfriend, she says that he's in surgery right now.
Yeah, Joe and Catherine, in fact, this is about as visible a law enforcement presence outside the high school as we've seen all morning. We see state troopers now arriving, but most of the detectives and police officers outside of this building, we've seen them on the football field, which is a little bit to the right of the actual Franklin Regional High School. You see these detectives with local police and the county district attorney's office, but they're now somewhat focusing part of the investigation into the fields outside the school. No indication as of yet if they actually recovered what students tell me to be a knife. They believe that was the weapon used in this melee.
Catherine, there's been a steady stream of parents arriving here. This is the official parent pickup at Heritage Elementary. When they arrive, police officers are quick to reassure them that their student is safe. Come on in, go into the cafeteria. That's where you'll check out your student. Believe it or not, there are still students being escorted to this school, about a dozen at a time, by teachers and by Penn Township police officers. They've been arriving here every 15 minutes or so, and parents, again, there's been just a stream of them here, some of them pretty emotional, in tears, others calm, reassuring their student. Somebody pointed out something interesting to me, and you can see there's another group of students being escorted into the building right now. But somebody said, you know, by the time the parent leaves the building and hears from their child about what happened, by the time they get to the fence here, you know, where we're stationed, there's tears. That's when they realize what happened and how traumatizing it must have been, especially for these high school students. One sophomore that we talked to said he really thought this was just business as usual, another fire drill. He and his girlfriend started casually walking out of the building when students started running behind them. They saw blood, they saw injured victims, and they started running with them. And he told us how traumatizing it was.
Fire drill, when I walked outside, I thought it was a normal fire drill. And then I saw people running and screaming and crying, and so I thought something has to be wrong. Then I saw people holding each other's hands. I saw some other people getting cut. Just blood everywhere. It was very traumatizing.
I can tell you that the 16-year-old suspect is now at Westmoreland Regional Hospital in Greensburg. We understand at this hour he is being treated for lacerations to his hand. There may be some other injuries as well because he was tackled here in the hallway after allegedly going on that stabbing rampage here at Franklin Regional High School this morning. Now, we were at the police department earlier when investigators brought the suspect out. He is 16 years old. He is a juvenile at this point. No charges have been filed against him, and we are, of course, blurring his face out and not identifying him at this point. But he was taken to the hospital. He was taken out in a Murraysville police car, transported to Westmoreland Regional Hospital in Greensburg. Now, earlier in the morning, paramedics came to the police station and also treated him, we understand, for about 15 to 20 minutes. They left, and then, of course, the suspect was taken to Westmoreland Regional Hospital in Greensburg. We understand he's going to be treated there and then will be brought back to the Murraysville Police Department for questioning.
I can tell you right now that the superintendent from Franklin Regional has just arrived on the scene. You see him walking right down there, along the line of buses. His name is Gennaro Pirano. He is the superintendent of Franklin Regional. He's going to be giving us a news conference here shortly to tell us exactly what happened. And I realize that a number of our viewers might be tuning into the story for the first time, so we want to recap what happened here. There was apparently a sophomore, a 16-year-old student here at Franklin Regional High School who came to school armed with 2 knives and started stabbing students. There were 20 victims, 19 of them students, one of them an adult.
Let's go now to our Renee Kaminsky. Again, people were taken to hospitals all over the region. Some of the more serious injured were taken to Forbes Regional Hospital, where our Renee Kaminsky has been all day. Renee.
Peggy, I can tell you of the 7 students who were brought here to Forbes Hospital, 3 of them have already undergone surgery this morning. 2 of them, we are told, are still in the OR. And these 3 students, all boys, by the way, were brought here. They are in pretty critical condition. They're still trying to assess the condition of the remaining 4 students who were brought here to assess how deep these puncture wounds were. But all of them, we are told, were stabbed multiple times, and deep wounds, in fact, at the time. But there's several who are still being evaluated in a certain part of this hospital right now.
He is here at UPMC Presby, and she tells me that he is out of surgery. She said, though, he still has a long road ahead. He's probably going to have another one tomorrow. She said she feels better because a big group of his friends came up. Now, they haven't been able to go up and see him, but she says that she has had the support of her friends and his friends. She goes to a different high school. So imagine getting a text from somebody saying that there has been a stabbing at the high school where your boyfriend attends, and she cannot get a hold of him. And she described to me, she recounted that for me, those terrifying moments. And go ahead, take a listen.
From there on, I got a group text message from his close friends that had said that, you know, Jared has been stabbed, and I didn't know how to react. So my friend had to immediately take my phone and ask, like, how is this happening? What happened? Is this a joke? Please tell me this isn't real. And then his close friend had called me and told me, like, listen, this is what happened, and that they're in lockdown, and they had all gone to the middle school. And from there on, I kind of just broke down, and then I went to the nurse, and my mom came and got me.
That he is now said to be in stable condition, out of surgery after being stabbed in the stomach. Now, we asked her to tell us exactly what Brandon was able to tell us about what happened this morning. She says that he told her that he was just standing in the hallway. That 16-year-old suspect walked by and he thought he had been punched in the stomach, and it wasn't until one of his friends who was standing next to him saw blood on his shirt, realized that he had actually been stabbed, and at that point Brandon actually collapsed to the ground. And here is a message that his aunt just told us that he gave her right here at Children's Hospital from his bed. Take a listen.
And the message that he would like to share is that he really wants some justice, and that you know, we need to try to prevent these types of tragedies from happening.
Breaking news.
I mean, I expect nothing less from him. He's a good man. He's always done the right thing.
Stories of heroism amid panic and confusion. Breaking news coverage of a school stabbing continuing right now at 4 here on Channel 11 News.
It happened just after 7 this morning, and we have been in breaking news coverage now for much of the day. dozens of ambulances and police cars rushed to Franklin Regional High School, where as many as 20 people were stabbed.
And Peggy, parents watched and waited, hoping their children were okay. Emotional reunions happening at an elementary school just yards away from the high school turned into a crime scene.
The suspect is only a sophomore, and within the past few minutes, we got this new video. There he is, your first look at him. This young man is only 16 years old, but he is being charged as an adult with attempted homicide.
So we've been following this major breaking story since it broke early this morning.
And within just the past few hours, we're learning about some incredible, brave actions that prevented an even bigger tragedy.
Indeed, Peggy. Channel 11's Rick Earl starts our Team 11 coverage with brand new information on the suspect. Rick.
Yeah, David, we can tell you that 16-year-old Alex Reibel just left the Murraysville Police Department minutes ago. Police escorted him out into a police car and then drove him away to the District Justice Office in Export. He's going to be arraigned before District Justice Charles Conway in just a short time. He will be charged as an adult, and we have the breakdown of the charges. We understand he will be charged with 21 counts of aggravated assault and 4 counts of attempted homicide and 1 count of carrying a weapon onto school property. Now, investigators here tell me Reibel allegedly used 2 8-inch steak knives to slash and stab 19 students and 1 staff member at Franklin Regional High School earlier today. Now, I asked investigators just minutes ago if they had a motive, if they know why this student allegedly did this, and they say at this point they do not know a motive. They said when the stabbing was going on that the suspect allegedly wasn't saying anything as he went through the hallways at Franklin Regional High School stabbing students and that staff member. Now, earlier today, I spoke with a student, a senior at Franklin Regional High School. He's 18-year-old Ian Griffin, and he is headed to Penn State in the fall. He's headed to Penn State, but he's a senior here at Franklin Regional. Tells an incredible story. Says he was walking down the stairwell, heard all of the commotion, actually saw the suspect stabbing a security guard, and at that point, he says he witnessed the vice principal, the principal at the school, Mr. King, then yelling and screaming at the suspect, and then the suspect was running down the hallway. Mr. King gave chase and then actually jumped on the suspect. At that point, the student tells me he ran behind Mr. King and actually jumped on top of Mr. King as King tackled that suspect. And this student says he actually held down the hands of that suspect. Here's what he had to say just a short time ago.
I was in the school and I came down the stairs and I saw the kid and Mr. King was yelling at him and I didn't know why. I turned around and saw him stab Sarge, the police officer, and afterwards he went down and Mr. King took off to take the kid down and I was right behind him and we both jumped on him and immobilized him. And
what was going through your mind when you're doing this, when this is happening?
Not much.
You just instinctively reacted like that? Were you scared? Were you nervous?
Yeah, I was looking for a garbage can to hit him with or something.
Do you know the suspect? Can you tell us anything about him?
No.
You don't know him at all?
No.
Was he talking? Was he saying anything to anybody while all this was going on?
No.
What did Mr. King, what was Mr. King saying to him?
He was just taking action.
Just taking action?
Yeah.
Was he saying put it down, surrender?
Initially, I don't think that he knew that he was the stabber. Yeah, from what I remember, it sounded like he was just trying to get him out of the building until we saw him stab.
Now, earlier, the police chief and the public safety director for Westmoreland County said that most of the kids ran. You didn't run. Most of the kids ran away from danger. You ran toward it.
I was put into the situation. I didn't know what was going on until I was in the middle of it.
Do you think you saved lives?
No, I think that Mr. King was the main hero here.
But you tackled on top of Mr. King as he was taking him down?
Yes.
So, how many knives did you see? Describe the knives.
2. I can't describe them.
What else?
Long, small?
It was too much of a blur.
What else did you see as you were making your way even out of the school?
Just a lot of teachers in panic.
You've had some time to think about this. What's your reaction to what happened?
I'm disturbed, mainly. Sorry for the victims and praying for them.
Describe for us that moment of struggle, what Mr. King was doing, what you did. Was this guy flailing with either or both knives? What happened?
Mr. King immobilized him. He pinned him down. I jumped on top of him as well and just held down his wrists and arms and tried to keep the knives stationary.
So you're holding his hands with the knives in them?
Yes.
Did he try to stab you?
No, he couldn't move his hands.
And what happened after that? Did someone come and put handcuffs on him? Talk about the moments after that.
Mr. King took charge and told me to go get an ambulance and get Officer Buzz, the resource officer, and I went out to the lobby to go relay that message. And then as I was coming back, there were many more teachers on top of them and janitors as well helping out. So I figured that I didn't have to do anything else. So I went with the rest of the student body and went down to the field.
Did you have any books or anything that you dropped? Or
Yes.
you just dropped them? And
I don't know.
What year are you? Are you a
Senior.
Senior?
Where are you going to school, do you know?
Penn State.
Penn State. Do you consider yourself a hero?
No.
I mean, you hear about these things on the news, but do you ever think that it's going to happen at your school?
There's always a possibility. There's a possibility for any school at any time, but no, not really.
This guy with the knives, did you know him? Did you see him around school? Describe what, if anything, you knew of him prior to this.
He's just another student that I saw from time to time. Never had any interaction with him.
Any sort of conflicts between him and anyone before? Any sort of issues that he's had?
Not that I know of.
You always hear rumors swirling around schools when something like this happens about bullying and things like that. What are you guys hearing being there this morning?
The news, I know, is saying a lot about bullying, but as far as I'm concerned, I've never heard any incidents of bullying or anything like that.
What do you think of your buddy here?
Oh, well, he's been my best friend for years, and I mean, I'd like to think that if I was there, I would have taken action as well, but since I wasn't, I'm glad my best friend was there to be the hero of the day.
Obviously, you just heard the assistant principal being called a hero moments after the stabbing.
Channel 11's Jodine Costanzo got a chance to talk with that man's son, and Jodine, he is very proud of his dad, understandably.
Yes, he sure is. Well, Peggy, shock and sadness really describe the mood here on Sunflower Court. That 16-year-old suspect lives here on the street, but so does that assistant principal, Sam King, who tackled him and stopped the violence. Now, King's son arrived at the family home a short time ago. He said he talked with his dad by phone. He told me his dad is fine, but very emotional.
I mean, I expect nothing less from him. He's a good man. He's always done the right thing. He always does the right thing. And so I'm proud of him. I know everyone that knows him is proud of him. And it just feels good to know that my dad saved the day.
He sure did. Well, police have been outside that suspect's home all day. You can see them right there. Now, just a short time ago, we saw some neighbors going into the house. It looked like they let the family dog out. Police let them inside. They left. I can tell you that some national media just within the last half hour have shown up here on the street. Now, neighbors I talked to say the suspect is a great kid, comes from a great family. They never saw this coming. There were no warning signs. They're very emotional. Many neighbors that I talked to, they were in tears as I was asking them questions about the family and about the suspect, asking why he would do this. So a lot of heartache here on one end of the street, a hero on the other end of the street, a 16-year-old suspect facing some very serious charges tonight. Reporting live in Murraysville, Jodine Costanzo, Channel 11 News.
Absolutely. What a remarkable coincidence that the suspect, Alex Ribel, lives on the very same street as the assistant principal who helped get him under control and under arrest.
And Peggy, one of the most seriously injured being treated right now at UPMC Presby.
Channel 11's Jennifer Tomazik has been there all day long and learned that just a few millimeters made the difference between life and death for this young man, Jennifer.
Absolutely, Peggy. A doctor said that that knife came just millimeters from his heart. But we are glad to report that he is out of surgery. He is still here at Presby. He is in critical condition. He's on life support, but the doctors are very hopeful. Now, I got a chance to talk to his girlfriend earlier today, and she identified him as Jared Boger. He is a junior at Franklin Regional. I want to show you a picture that she shared with me of the two of them. Michaela Myers, she doesn't go to Franklin Regional. She tells me she got a text about the stabbing and tried to contact her boyfriend Jared. She said that he didn't answer, and she finally got word from his friends that he was among the stabbing victims. Now, she said she left her school, she went home, her and her mom came to Presby to talk with us a little bit about him and about what her friends at Franklin Regional are going through.
they're in complete shock that they never really thought this could happen to them until it does. I mean, with what happened at Sandy Hook a year or so ago, like, nobody really thinks that it can happen until it happens in your hometown.
Now, as we were mentioning, doctors say that that knife just came millimeters from Jared's heart, but they do tell us that it punctured his liver, his diaphragm, some other major blood vessels inside his body. So they have done one surgery. They are expecting to do some more on him, but we're told that he is doing okay, but in critical condition here at Presby. But again, doctors do remain optimistic that he is going to pull through, and I'll continue checking on his condition. Reporting live outside of Presby, Jennifer Tomazic, Channel 11 News.
All right, Jennifer, there at UPMC Presby. Obviously, we have our reporters all over the place covering this story at a lot of the hospitals, including our Tamika Artist.
She's at Children's Hospital. Tamika, 4 patients were brought there today.
Peggy, that's right. Actually, the numbers are changing as we speak. Lots of information coming in by the minute. We're told now that 5 of the students from Franklin Regional High School were actually brought here to Children's Hospital earlier this morning. We can tell you that 2 of them had injuries serious enough that they had to be admitted. One of them we know is a 14-year-old 9th grader by the name of Brandon Brown. I had a chance to talk with his aunt earlier today. He was last reported in stable condition after having surgery earlier this afternoon. Now, we can tell you that hospital administrators, including one of the directors here, held a press conference about an hour and a half ago, and they talked about how, as a Trauma One center, the hospital is prepared to handle these kinds of high-pressure situations involving multiple casualties. And they say the timing of this morning's event might very well have made the difference between life and death.
We have drills to deal with massive casualty incidents like this on a routine basis. You know, we have trauma systems in place. It begins in the field. It begins with EMS being able to triage these patients and bring them very quickly to level 1 trauma centers to manage these types of injuries. We have teams of physicians and experts available 24/7 to manage these injuries. I think another thing that's fortuitous in this case is that it happened before 8 o'clock in the morning, when we had a full complement of surgeons, anesthesiologists, ER physicians available and ready to go. We put several elective cases on hold in our operating room in case we received more victims.
Again, 2 of the students that were brought here this morning said to be in fair condition. The other 3 students were told are in good condition and actually could be released later on this evening. Now, coming up in my live shot at 5 o'clock, I had a chance to talk with the aunt of that 14-year-old boy from the high school, the 9th grader who was stabbed near his chest. His aunt says that there were moments of panic. She had a chance to speak with him by his hospital bed, and she tells me that he did not even know the 16-year-old suspect who attacked him this morning. Reporting live here at Children's Hospital, I'm Tamika Artist, Channel 11 News.
All right, thank you, Tamika. And we can only imagine the fear felt by parents as they wondered, was my kid among the injured, and as they waited to be reunited with their children. Our Kara Sapaida has been at the elementary school on that campus where parents had to go to pick up their kids. And Kara, you saw a lot of those reunions today.
We did. We really saw a range of emotions from parents rushing, frantic to get here, to get to their sons and their daughters, and then that relief to actually physically hold them, knowing that they were safe. It was pretty emotional out here today. We've been here since this morning. There was a steady stream of parents arriving. All of those kids tonight safe with their parents. Police and teachers evacuated all of the students in the district to the elementary school where the parents had to come specifically. Students were not allowed to leave on their own in their cars. Parents filled the street bumper to bumper. They filled driveways of homes nearby. We saw a lot of students break down after safely being reunited. Many of them knew some of or all of the victims, several who witnessed the horrific stabbings. One sophomore that we talked to told us how quickly it went from thinking that this was just a basic fire drill to realizing there was a real emergency in the school.
Not really a kid that I would ever think would do it. Very shy, quiet. A very nice kid too. I talked to him, had a couple classes with him over the years. I would never thought that he would have done it, and just shows that it could happen anywhere at any time.
Public safety officials tell us that that is what set in motion the evacuation. They say they wanted the students to run out of the school to make it to the exits and get away. It was chaotic at times, and from what we understand, really, there were among the 20 injured, many of them made it to the doors or to the areas of the hallways, according to police, and they had been then treated by medics for their injuries. That's when they were transported to hospitals. But if we have some of the interviews from some of the students and listening to what it is they did say, some of their stories and how they recounted the information is just chilling. Have a listen.
I saw this one kid run by into the nurse's office holding his face. It looked like he had a bloody nose.
We turn a corner because all the teachers are rushing us, and then we actually look at the teachers' faces and they're panicked. So we knew this was like the real deal.
So Lisa, from hearing how these students had to react and knowing the stories that they are now and what they've witnessed, it's going to stay with them for some time. It's going to be a pretty difficult road to recovery here.
All right, thanks, Joe, for that update. And we want to just let you know that as Joe was speaking, Governor Tom Corbett arrived. So we do believe that the speakers at this point, most of the speakers, if not all of them, have arrived here at Franklin Regional Middle School, where we are expecting a news conference to begin at any moment.
Let me commend the efforts of not only the individuals in the school, but law enforcement, the first responders who came here, EMS, the various police departments, as the chief has said, from the FBI to our state police, our serology people are in there, but also all the local police departments. This is not something you could ever completely plan on. You certainly work on what's going to happen in a situation. But from my discussions here for the last 2+ hours, I want to commend everybody for working on this together. There are a number of heroes in this day. Many of them are students, and I want you to write that. Students who stayed with their friends and did not leave their friends. Cafeteria workers who automatically, just reactively, began caring for students who were bleeding. Teachers and teachers' aides who pulled students out of the hallways and into rooms and began applying first aid and protecting those children. And then obviously the school resource officer, Buzz, the sergeant who was injured in this, and assistant principal, Joan, I forget Joan's last name, Joan Mellon, and Sam King.
Well, David, the scene here on Sunflower Court has changed dramatically just within the past couple of minutes. About a dozen FBI agents rolled up here. You see them standing on the front porch. This is the suspect's house. You also see them around back. They are surrounding the house right now, apparently getting ready to go in. We believe they are armed with search warrants. That is where suspects Alex Reibel, his family lives there. We're told they are not home right now. Murrysville police have been outside, standing guard outside the home all afternoon. We did not see anybody, any family members go in or out. But again, you see these FBI agents, they just arrived there just a few minutes ago, getting ready to go in the house and armed with search warrants. Now, just up the street, you have the suspect on this end of the street. On the other end of the street, you have the hero, Sam King, the assistant principal who tackled Alex Reibel, stopped the stabbing, lives there just up the street. His son arrived at the house about an hour ago, and he told reporters he is proud of his dad, says he expected nothing less from him, saying he's a good man who always does the right thing. The father and son talked by phone after the incident.
He was just a little upset, like nothing out of the ordinary for a situation like that. Emotions are very high, but he composed himself very well, and he just told me he was okay, and we said we loved each other.
All right, so again, just several houses down is where that suspect lives. Murrysville police have been outside of the Reibel home all afternoon, but as you see here now, about a dozen FBI agents are surrounding the house, ready to go inside. They got here just a few minutes ago. Now, the neighbors that I talked to, they are just devastated by this. They say that the Reibels are a good family, Alex a good child. They can't understand understand this. They don't know what happened. They have no motive for the stabbing. I asked them about the bullying aspect of it, that was one of the things that that police thought may be the case. They said that they had no information about that. They've never seen it. He plays out here with the other kids. They see him at the bus stop. So it's very disturbing, very sad for this whole community tonight. The neighbors tell me they are praying for everyone involved. That's the very latest right now from Murraysville. Reporting live, Jodine Costanzo, Channel 11 News.
Okay, Jodine, so obviously a lot going on, a lot still happening. FBI descending on the suspect's house. We just heard from the governor. This story continues, obviously, into the night.
I'm sure if the young suspect, Alex, had a computer, that is going to be going into police custody pronto. All right, we have more coverage for you. We'll be back in just a moment.